break and the first of 5 panel discussion sessions over this afternoon and tomorrow. These will range from finance, Africa First, synthetic diamonds, ethics, and the one this afternoon to start off the panel sessions is one looking at retail in the challenging market. And to take care of this, we have 2 moderators, Peter Mears, who you don't need any introduction to, and also Albert Robinson, who's an industry expert and journalist. So, gentlemen, your chance to take to the stage and moderate the first session of the conference.
Albert, are you on? Good. Now that Roberto Coin has finished his smoking break, it's time to do the first of our 5 panels. The first panel will be on retail in difficult times. We have 4 distinguished panelists. One is Roberto Coin. Please come up, Roberto. As you know, Roberto is in business already for, I don't know, forever. He has been in the hotel business. He has been in the gold business. He told me when I first met him that when he was 30, he drove a Rolls Royce, but everybody thought that he was the driver. So Roberto is a special guy, and he's a typical guy for this trade. We have Amit Damani. Amit, please come up. Amit is the CEO and Managing Director of the Damani Jewels Group. He is a little bit atypical for our industry because he has studied a lot. And as you know, a lot of the diamantaires have not really studied a lot. But here we have an almost Harvard graduate amongst us. He's also governor of the board of the GIA, the Gemological Institute of America. Welcome, Amit. We have Mr. Karim Merchant. I think he's the youngest. Karim is the CEO and the Managing Director of Pure Gold. They have done an amazing business here in this city, one of the largest chains of in the retail in gold and diamonds. And also now, little by little, internationalizing, opening shops everywhere, 150 shops here in the UAE alone. And then last but not least, Vishal Mehta. Vishal is director of the Dimexon Group of companies. We know each other since many years, especially from Antwerp. He is very knowledgeable about Asia, has done a lot of business in Asia. So, welcome, gentlemen. And before I'm going to start with my difficult questions, I'm going to pass on to Albert. Albert, as you all know, is an ex-IDEX journalist. He's very knowledgeable. We've worked together for many times. The last time we worked together was in Zimbabwe when we did Zimbabwe Diamond Conference. So this is not about mining, it's not about rough, but it's about what is currently happening also here in the city and international. Albert, shoot your first question to the panel, please.
Okay, I think the first question I'd like to ask is, of all the members here, what are the challenges facing retailers today and other things that the rest of the diamond pipeline can do to help? Generic marketing, for example, would be one. Roberto, do you have an opinion?
Well, for sure, I have an opinion. But in retail, I must say, you know, I'm not a true expert as we only have about 20 retail stores, of which some are franchises, some are partnership, and a few are of our own property. But I do sell in 62 countries, and we have 1,083 retailers, which, you know, 62 countries have 62 opinions. And I would like to speak as a brand more than anything else. And as a brand, I'm sure you understand that branding is being a social element which has been significant to a significant role to the society of today. So the big brands create the fashion and then is followed by everybody else. And as a small brand, compared to the gods like Cartier, Chopard, Bulgari, and so on, we do have spent $200 million in advertising and marketing. So we do advertise your diamonds, we do advertise jewelry, and together with our retailer, we do sponsor the retail industry tremendously. What is missing is where is the first pipeline of the diamond industry. I don't see any help whatsoever. Sorry, I speak about the big boys of Arosa, which is here in front of us, and of course, the almighty God of the beers. So we don't understand what you are going to do in the future, really. You know, you made beautiful speeches, but I truly, I'm not an expert of that, but one thing is for sure, you are missing. And the site holders, my good friend Dilip here, which we worked together with the Cento Diamonds, we did get some help at the beginning, 2004. So I'm saying that the pipeline of the diamond industry for the retail is missing. And then I speak about other things later. Okay. I would like my friends to speak.
Maybe also the angle, gentlemen, of is the retail business growing? Is it shrinking? What are the challenges?
Now the challenges are big because there is a huge competition in the market, unfair competition in the market. As far as I am concerned, you know, my clients are saying they make more profit when there is less diamonds than more diamonds. And that is also true. And then, of course, we are missing out a lot in the first generation, which we totally forgot how to sell diamonds to them. So, yes, the retail business industry is suffering worldwide. There's no one country which I know which are doing well, and we can mention the different countries, and they're suffering. Probably the United States, where I'm stronger, is the only positive thing of 2014.
Okay, Amit, what's your take on this?
Peter, thank you for a lovely introduction. And now when you have set the bar so high on the learning and knowledge curve.
Yeah, you have to give a very learned explanation.
So I think the role I play in the company and group is vision and strategy. And when I look at how we as company have grown and the industry, I look at what is next, which is not something which is obvious. So we can talk about challenges, oil price, Russia, China, ISIS, so on and so forth, but that is always really evolving. After 3-4 years, we'll have some other challenge, and it goes up and down. The key challenge I see is industry and category of diamond as whole. And I'd like to touch on what Andre presented earlier in that kind of direction, and give you one very interesting example to give little stimulation of thoughts. So there is one company which is in iPhone and phone business, Apple. They're sitting out of the business and looking at the different industries they can play. They look at Swiss watch industry, yearly sales of $28 billion. And they see this is a very interesting segment to have because it's very fragmented, very much run by 3 or 4 big groups. We have certain direction of business. They bring a product, iWatch. First day they sell 1 million watches. In 1 week they've sold 2 million watches for $3 billion. Till end of the year, they would have sold 20 million watches for $10 billion.
So, Amit, is that buying into your market share?
Okay, so adding to that point, what happens? So out of this $10 billion, you can argue $7.5 billion is new customers that were not luxury customer or watch customers. I feel maybe 75% of that $10 billion customer can be from other luxury categories. $2.5 billion can be watch customers, which has been lost by Switch watch industry. But other $7.5 billion certainly is a category which we must have lost, bags must have lost, other people must have lost. Saying so, we have to understand what Apple does. They don't make a watch and leave you with that watch. They make it a lifestyle. So is there an Apple of our industry? Is there anybody who's looking at industry in that way? Whether they should look at, whether we as an industry, and it's coming to strategy, what I'm mostly in, whether we should, as an industry, look at a category. Even when Apple grows, Samsung and other people are growing, so it's not about one company.
So we basically suffer from a lack of generic advertising, which is something something De
product.
Beers has always done. What's your take on this,
Yeah.
Karim? What are the challenges?
I personally feel that, the problems are really apparent and everybody knows what the problems are. I appreciate what Amit is saying and what Mr. Coyne has said, and I think everybody already knows that we have a problem of the current generation and the future generation not being able to connect or engage with the diamond jewelry. But I also feel that we are all waiting for somebody else to do this job for us, and that's the real problem. We all have a responsibility, either as a retailer or as a manufacturer or as a miner, and an equal responsibility to solve this problem, because the problem is apparent. I mean, we can ask anybody over here, they would know, yes, diamonds are not like they used to be 10 years ago, 15 years ago, fine, but what are we doing about it?
You have shops in India. Do you have the same experience in India? Is the younger generation not interested in diamond jewelry anymore?
It is not that they're not interested. Talking about today, things are all right. There are challenges which will always remain, like Amit said. But the point is that what about 10 years from now? What about 20 years from now? That's where we feel that with other categories, innovating, and that's what we don't do. We don't innovate. We just do the same thing every day. We firefight, and we just try to get out of the current situation, not thinking what's going to happen.
So what can we do? What can we do, Vishal?
So, I mean, one of the things we've often talked about is investment. Investment into research and development, product category, the experience itself. And I think this is one of the common themes that we see from a retail standpoint when we look at best-in-class retailers. And we don't just talk about, retailers in the diamond product category, but when you look at the Apples and the Teslas of the world, the experience that these guys offer is something that consumers haven't been able to experience yet. And I think that is something that, we as an industry really need to focus a lot on. And I think this is going to go down a long way when it comes to adoption of technology. Now again, we can all talk about investment, but where is this investment going to come from? And I think that's going to be a very hot debate, certainly if we talk about who has that responsibility. To that extent, I do agree with Karim that, there is a shared responsibility across the pipeline. But at the same time, there needs to be sustainability and economic viability as well. We can't do it on the basis of one individual or one segment of the industry pipeline taking ownership or custodianship of generating demand.
So basically, we all don't like the Bears, but we miss them.
I certainly didn't say that.
Okay, Albert, what
Yeah,
should on the second question, please?
Vishal touches on an interesting point that I wanted to ask about. Are retailers doing enough to create a shopping experience for potential jewelry buyers? Are they being imaginative enough in order to attract buyers, other than just offering discounts, which I think is just shooting themselves in the foot?
So I think if you look at product
Let's
categories...
also open this a bit broader and think about what in the next 10 years will happen on the internet. I mean, is it sufficient what retailers are doing now? Because there's this whole new generation, 15-year-old coming. Guys of 15-year-old, they buy everything already on their phone. Will that impact retail? Will that impact your business?
I think these are two questions, and if I'd answer the first one, if you take a look at any other major product category around the world, you take a clothing apparel, for instance. I remember my father used to say that back in the days, they would buy fabric, textile, they would go to the tailor close by, they would have it tailored for their own requirement, and that was the generic use of, clothing apparel. Today, I don't know how many of us would actually do that, apart from, simply going to a branded store and buying a piece of shirt or clothing. So if you look at most product categories around the world, the penetration of branding is extremely deep, north of 90% in most categories, whether you take eyewear, watches, clothing apparel, leather goods, etc. When you look at our category, we are at a low double-digit percentage. And this clearly means that there is extremely low differentiation that we are providing to the consumer. So branding is not just about stamping a name, obviously. There's a lot more that goes behind the brand promise. But that is clearly something which is missing. On the other hand, the flip side is that there's great opportunity. And clearly those 12, 13, 14% of branded jewelry that is out there, that is one of the faster growing categories around the world. I'll take the other point separately, which is on
Yeah,
e-commerce.
okay, let's go on the
but
branding
I
issue
think this one
first.
would be interesting to hear.
I think
some of the
what I
others.
also see that specifically for the Middle East, we all as retailers are still thinking as jewelers. We don't have the mindset of a retailer. And all the other categories are operating exactly as a retailer, not only in terms of branding, but in terms of inventory management, creating internal efficiencies. These things are also being overlooked into. So when the times become challenging, then you start saying, oh, good Lord, I have so much inventory and, this is an inherent problem to the industry, but it's not. It's been mismanaged for so many years because we always thought, that's how jewelers typically manage a store or a fleet of stores. But a retailer looks at the business in a totally different way. There are no emotional attachments with the business that we see a lot happening in our industry. For example, for us, we have a time period that if a store does not turn profitable with a minimum ROI in so many number of months, we let it go. If a store has been with us for 20 years, for 10 years, but now it's not financially viable, even if it's our first store, there is zero emotional attachment to the store. We let it go. These things also need to be brushed upon as operators ourselves. And when we speak about the experience, there needs to be an omnipresence experience with the retailers. A customer can look at a product on Instagram, go to a store, experience the product, go back home and order it online. That's what's important. It's no longer an omni-channel operation.
Yeah, omni-channel
It has
is
to be
really,
totally across the board. So wherever a customer moves around, they should be able to experience the product. And that, I think, we still have an opportunity to take upon that.
Yeah, Amit, what do you think? Is it possible that in the future, let's say 30–40% of jewelry sales would be online, or do you really need to, does the consumer will have the need to have a touch and feel when he buys the product?
I certainly feel online will grow and grow exponentially because of online usage of totality. So certainly there is no doubt about it. We can't put a number to it.
Just
It can-
there's something just reminded, that Chanel, a top luxury brand, for a very long time didn't want to do online shops because they said, our bags are unique. Actually, the resale value of Chanel bags is high, and we don't want to do it. They reversed that position recently because they realized that they have to follow what everybody else does. They're basically the last luxury brand to also go now online. So how important can that be in diamonds, which, yeah, I mean, don't you think that your consumers will still want to put it around their neck or around their finger?
I think I can give a very interesting analogy. I think we as a company are very, very clear that we are in a desire business. And there is no doubt about it. What we operate is to understand, is this desire is a pressing need of a customer? And I think this is where we are transforming our group to be. So for us, we started as a generic retailer from the souk and other environment, and now we are going in a direction. Certain stores of ours, the minimum product is $10,000. And that's a call we are taking, which is experience-driven, with desire in mind, but need of a client. If a customer who is at that level of spending, he can go to the top brands and can spend that kind of money, if we will provide them that platform with certainly a kind of apple to apple in terms of quality, product, information, technology, online experience, and omni-channel experience. But at the end, we feel that desire is the key thing in high-end jewelry retailing. So this is a very interesting question. We can't dissect the business in terms of all categories. Online will increase. What price point products will go online is a different kind of question to take. But we as a company are feeling the kind of business we are in. We are trying to go more and more in high-end business to really convert that desire and need equilibrium, try to address that customer spend who's actually already spending. For us,
If I may, Amit, from your entire marketing budget, how much do you spend on online?
very interesting point. I think something I can share. We do 60 events a year.
But that are not online events.
So
that are real events.
the point we are saying, when we do 60 events a year, I'm not spending online from my platform. The events we do with the companies, they will do the money positioning on their platform. If I do event with Dubai Mall posts the money feed, which goes to 2 million people. So for me, I can be thinking, wow, I know everything. Let me bring 5 people to do online marketing and increase my marketing business. I don't think online works that way. We have to see who are following whom, where I want my product to be seen, and that's what the game the money is in. I don't want to see that I have 10,000 likes on my page. I think that's a different way and a very old way of doing business, according to me. Likes doesn't convert in business.
So as of now, it is not that important yet for you. Roberto, what is online? Is Roberto going online?
Yes, we are a little bit. We don't do very much as we have too many clients worldwide. We don't want to compete with them, but digital media is going to be the winner of the next few years, we like it or not. If you think that Richemont Group bought Net-a-Porter in Paris, it means they're going to be stronger and stronger selling online. And online today, we do sell in the United States quite a lot. We sell large pieces, which is, important pieces, up to $50,000, $60,000. We do sell them. So we like it or not, digital media is going to be one of our biggest competitors. E-commerce, unfortunately, was born because a lot of unsold items were in the market, and they helped to get rid of the whole stock of all the retailers or manufacturers of the world. So they started discounting, and the discount is a big, big issue. And unless we innovate, truly innovate the retail industry, we have a problem. But innovation and marketing must go together. Just yesterday, I was speaking to my good friends, and I said, well, we are missing the young market, but I would like to tell you that 1/4 or 1/5, this is more than 1/5 than 1/4, we sell to children in the United States, and we do over $50 million retail value for children jewelry. So, yes, you don't sell children jewelry in Dubai. So there is a market, a huge market of children's jewelry.
Is fair trade an issue today?
A fair trade of diamonds is a big issue. I don't have that kind of issue being a brand, but we all know very well that Blue Nile in the States is probably the biggest seller of diamonds online in the United States. It is an issue, and there is an issue also because many diamond dealers, they do sell to us manufacturers, then they sell to retailers, and some sell also to the consumer.
But is it a created issue, or is it a created issue, or is it a consumer-driven issue?
No, the consumer, the consumer is prepared to pay the price. No, I'm convinced that the consumer is prepared to pay the price. We don't discount our jewelry so much. We are obliged to discount more in Dubai than any other place in the world.
No, but actually, I mean, Roberto, or let me ask it to the guys here in the Gulf. Do consumers come to your stores and say, do you have conflict-free diamonds? Does that happen often?
I think
Does it happen every day?
No, I think that's a very, very old subject, at least 6-7 years ago when this subject raised up. And
does it ever happen?
No.
Karim, does it ever happen?
Not at all. I've never experienced that.
Never.
You never experienced it in your 150 stores?
Yes, never experienced or got any feedback saying that the customer was asking about this. They might just ask, is it being responsibly sourced? But they wouldn't tag directly saying that is it a conflict-free diamond that you're using.
I think a lot of them are interested in understanding the provenance, so the authenticity, and that is largely because of confusion. Confusion in communication and the right messages.
So they will ask you, where is the diamond coming from?
Yeah, I mean, are these African? Are these Russian? There's this phenomenon around Belgian cut diamonds and Russian cut diamonds and all of that. So I think there is that element which is still in the minds of consumers that needs education.
Because when I last met Stephen Lucier of the Forever Mark, he said, we are permanently confronted with consumers asking about the fair trade character of our diamonds.
Did you ask him?
He said, I'm getting this question every day.
But did you ask him whether this research was aided or unaided? In the sense, is he asking customers, is fair trade important to you?
Well, that's the whole
issue. Or did he ask consumers, name your top 3 criteria?
Is it induced or is it consumer-driven? That's the whole issue. Roberto, are your American consumers sending you mails about the origin?
No,
of your stores?
I think as a brand we were obliged to do a very good marketing of the issues, and we have instructed all our retailers that we are very proud to be part of the Kimberley process and so on. So we trained all our people tremendously well, and if they get questions, they know the answers. But
But do
personally,
you, but do,
no,
you, do you
personally,
get questions, for example, about the wages that are paid for diamonds that are digged wherever? Do you get these questions?
no.
Child labor? Do
in
you
the
get
States-
questions on child labor?
In the States, yes. You know, the rest of the world, no. In the States, yes. The rest of the world, no.
I think in this part of the world, we overestimate the amount of information a customer has. They don't have this information.
So he's basically interested in the price
He's interested in the product,
and the quality.
yes. And if we can create the right experience around it, that's the sale done.
Yeah. Is that different,
Sorry?
Vishal, in Asia? You have large experience in Hong Kong, in China. Is that different?
I mean, clearly we see that the Far Eastern consumer is a far more educated customer. They really understand the product, they understand the benefits, the features, the attributes around the product itself. They will do a lot more research, and that's both desk research as well as you know, on the floor itself. And then, you know, they won't hesitate to take time before taking the plunge and making a decision.
But that's more price related then.
Not necessarily. It's also product. It's also, and again, as I said, it's more features, attributes related.
Now, a whole other question. Is the diamond component in your retail stores, is it increasing or is it not increasing?
As far as I'm concerned, I purposely decreased a little bit because I was after
You
after
purposely
profitability.
decrease.
Yes.
Everybody will like to hear that.
No, but I have to say the truth. You know, I have to say. You see, as a designer, I can sell wood with semi-precious. I can do whatever I like.
So you
know
don't
what I
make
mean?
enough money with diamonds.
Well, as what I said, you know, as far as I'm concerned, the more diamonds I put on my product, the bigger is the issue. Therefore, they ask how much is per carat, and we don't sell per carat. We sell the piece. We sell a piece of art which we would like to be sold to be given to future generation, and that is the art which we try to create. You know what I mean? So.
There's a gentleman in the room, which I know a little bit, who has a question on that subject.
Yes, Dilip, to
so-
me.
Dilip. Do we have mics? We will have mics, but just...
Okay, so.
Okay, then Amit maybe.
So I think we have a very interesting point on that. I think we are other way around. I think the kind of content Damani is giving in diamonds is unbelievable. And actually, strategically, we are taking that path to give more and more value to the customer in terms of a physical material, which is intrinsic value in the physical diamond. And I'll expand why we are doing it. You know, we go out, and again, I come back to Apple again. They sold $3 billion in 2 days, the most profitable product ever in the history, 60% GP. What does that mean at the end of this year? With the $10 billion of sale, $6 billion they will make out of this one product. Company whose total sale in 2004 was $8 billion, their sale last year was $184 billion. So I feel consumers are there to pay money. I think consumers are ready to get experience and a product.
So, but your diamond component in your overall sales
Is
increases. Karim? Dilip, then...
For us, it's constant. I don't see any reason why to increase it or to decrease it. I don't see any extra value addition just because I increase the quantity or content of the diamond or go the other way. It all depends on the correct price point and the correct experience that you can offer to the customer, and be able to connect and engage with the customer throughout the purchase. And I think that is the most important. I could connect with a customer and sell them a 5-carat piece, or if I'm not doing my job well, then I can't even sell a 15-cent piece. So it has nothing to do with how much content there is in the diamond for us.
Okay, Dilip.
I just want to actually go back to the original question, and what do retailers think about the good housekeeping, let's call it that way, or fair trade. Last year at Diamond Empowerment Fund in Vegas, we had this discussion among the top retailers of US, Signet, JCPenney, everybody was, present there. I believe Stephen Lucier also was there. The whole discussion about, the DEF drive, which is Diamond Do Good, which is, I think, is a great initiative. And, they indeed are, creating a goodwill for the diamond business. In the discussion, I asked the same question you did. I said, is it the driving force of your diamond sale? Or is it something that people ask? Somebody on the table, and I'm not going to repeat the name or say the name, had the courage in front of everybody to say no, retailers at retail, consumer do not ask those questions. They want to understand, why your diamonds are better. So it's all about, features and benefit. I think what converts a consumer is not just that you're a good guy. It is, why these diamonds are performing. Do I get the good value? And by the way, if it is, good housekeeping, and that particular word was used, by the way. So it was not something that, that's something that retailers are looking for. Unfortunately, I see the initiative, taken over by many people in the industry. We all talking about the good housekeeping, and we think that's the reason consumer buy diamonds. Do they buy diamonds, just because you are a good guy?
Well, I
Retailers may answer.
Well, as a retailer, I am not quite sure if I have the answer, but I would say yes. I think the people which buys from Cartier, which is a very important brand, automatically they feel they are buying the right diamonds at the highest price. They already know that too because they're buying from Cartier and they come from reputable sources. I would say they will buy from the best source that they can.
But Roberto,
the best reputable
that is
person.
not an answer to the question. The question is it induced or is it consumer driven? Are consumers really busy with the issues which tomorrow on the ethical panel we will try to tackle? Is it consumer driven? I mean, I read a whole memo in IDEX 2 weeks ago where the lady who wrote it said, what is missing here, I just come back from Chicago, is a good story, a good feel story. That's the whole fair trade thing. So a lot of people talk about it. It's there. We are confronted, and we have to ask Paul to ask Stephen, where indeed these and Andre was there too. Where is it actually coming from? Because we would really like to know how important the issue is for the consumer.
Yes, it's media driven, as we know. The world is media driven. It comes from the media more than anybody else. So the consumer do not ask as often this question at all. That is the sincere truth.
Okay.
Doesn't mean, but it doesn't mean that what we are trying to do is wrong. So traceability, capability process, all these kind of things, I think we should try to do it the best way possible.
I think it's very important. I actually should not really participate, but moderate, but nevertheless, let me express my opinion. I agree 100% that we have to do it.
Yes.
But we should not sell it as if it is the consumer that asks for it. Yeah. And that's something we always hear. If it's that it is fair in itself, of course, but it's not consumer.
Yes.
Okay. Albert, what are the next questions on your list?
I wanted to move it on to the question of low volume independents. Do they have a realistic future? And also talking about the idea of consolidation. Do you assume that a lot of jewelry stores will be going out of business?
It's of course a difficult question to ask to chain owners. Yeah. We should actually ask it to independent jewelry stores. Because
but nonetheless, there is this movement as department stores and the big discount stores, for example, in the US, are taking a bigger share of the jewelry pie.
Well, shall we say that the answer is yes? To me, it is yes. To be honest, it's yes. Worldwide.
It is yes, because branding will become overall important, and we're reaching a stage that there will not be non-branded products anymore. Like, for example, there are not non-branded cars.
Unfortunately, you see, Peter, if I may finish, there is a beautiful jewelers in Venice, which is 300 years old history. It's called Nardi, and it's a single store, you know. But you know, it's now driven by the media. Nobody knows who's Nardi. The fact he had 300 years of jewelry masterpieces made, they're going to buy from the big brands, and Nardi disappeared.
Amit?
I think I can just say for Dubai and UAE, certainly the kind of the retail dynamics and the DNA of this country, I think that will really sustain. Independence will have good future in this country because the experience of retail, the mentality of the consumer who come in this country, they have this experience of the souk, they have this experience of walking in the jewelry souk with 400 stores. I think that still will go on, and that will be the part of retail experience. And actually, if in hindsight, you see people who have been going to malls, sometimes they want to go to the souks and experience that independent store buying or bargaining or whatever you can say. Globally, I think it can be a different way or different direction, but places like Dubai and UAE, it will coexist.
So we can call the shopping experience in Dubai unique because there is such a variety
Yep.
of jewelers.
Yep.
So it's
Also,
very-
one-man shops.
Absolutely.
Maybe that's a plus for Dubai.
Absolutely.
What do you think, Eric?
I think, if we're talking that whether stores will close down because the times are challenging now, or in general because larger stores are eating into smaller stores' business, I personally feel that it is not the question whether the times are challenging now or whether the larger stores are eating into smaller stores' business. It is the question whether jewelers will be able to change with the time. And if they are able to change with the time, whether it's a 1-store operator, 10-store operator, or 100-store operator, they will survive. And if they are unable to change with time, even if it's a 1,000-store operator, they will not be able to survive. So I think, to me, that is more important, because the adaptability to the situation changing around, the agility, the speed in which we will be able to respond to the external factors, the speed in which we will be able to respond to the changing needs of the consumer, that is more important. There could be a 1,000-store operator who is not changing with the omnipresent scene which is creating in the minds of the consumer, but a 2-store retailer has already seen it, caught on to it, and is doing much better.
Okay.
So that is possible.
Michelle, your take on this?
From a global point of view, I mean, clearly we see that there is increasing penetration of the large-scale players. And that is a trend that we see continuing to take place into the future as well. Each market has its own nuance. And so if you look at the Indian market or the Gulf market, there are cultural elements as well that play into that. But at the same time, economies of scale are very important. So large-scale players have that much more resource to invest in evolution of their systems, processes, the experience that they offer to their consumer, and adapt to some of these changing environments as well. And it doesn't go to say that, the small independent won't survive. They may find, a comfortable spot for themselves, and there will be a natural balance at which this evolution will settle at.
Okay. We have done 45 minutes. Albert, I think it's about time that we also open up to people who want to ask questions.
Alex Popper?
So Alex and then Dilip, and then I saw.
I wanted to ask the question, the panelist. I've been thinking, while you were describing the issues, I would like to ask the retailers, what do you think about franchising? I mean, how do you see the future of the franchising? And by franchising, I mean franchising by the brands. So is there any way for starting to self-franchising and doing some franchising work for the small retailers to sell diamond jewelry? What do you have any opinion about this idea?
But who franchises what?
Diamond as a franchise. I'm just speculating with the idea. Let's say Diamond is a brand. So we,
If I may, I can answer that if you want me to.
Roberto?
Franchising doesn't work. Sorry. Franchising is difficult. Franchising automatically, the thing is, the price is higher automatically because it's a franchisees, and it doesn't quite work. It works with fashion, but not with the jewelry industry very much. And then is a question who is financing who. And franchising is a big difficulty. I've tried I have tried and I financed it. I had wonderful people, but automatically the consumer think that it is a higher price, and it isn't. But they automatically think so.
I disagree with that, respectfully.
Very,
I
please.
think that, if brands such as McDonald's can franchise out and still sell their burgers at $1.50, and I am not ready to franchise, that's why we don't franchise. There is a particular way in franchising which we are unable to understand. By we, I'm particularly talking about myself. There has to be the correct mix. The entire supply chain management has to be totally different. The way we operate traditionally as managing our own stores, and just probably having somebody in another country who's interested about the brand because they've heard it and they like it, and we try to replicate the same model over there, that's a very nascent way to look at it. But I still live with the thought that if others can do it, why can't we? If they do it successfully and they live with it and they're doing it across almost all countries and cities, why can't we? So there is research that needs to understand that, and surely there might have companies that have done and failed in our industry, but to me that's not the end.
But there are successes as well within our industry.
So you have quite a lot of Chinese retailers. Lukfook is one, who has the highest number of franchises in China.
And successful.
But and successful. So I guess, it can work, in some markets, and some markets it may not work, depending on your brand strength. The question I want to ask you all, gentlemen, with your exception, if you have 2 minutes across the 1.5 foot, as they say in the USA, what will be your first message to the consumer when you want to sell diamonds? What are you going to tell them?
Well, personally, I would like to sell diamonds which nobody else sells. So that is a diamonds which I would like to sell. A diamonds which is, every day should be a diamond invented as far as I'm concerned. I would like to sell anything which nobody else sells in the market.
Amit?
I think diamond is such a precious product and material. I think enhancing and emphasizing on that uniqueness of the product itself, this is what typically we do, and we encourage our team to do, to talk about the product itself as a diamond. And that's for the last 18 inches, we always emphasize to really let customer understand, and comes back to that intrinsic value thing which we are trying to do as Damani. We actually, if somebody is buying a $100 diamond, if you compare that $100 with any other product they spend, I think diamond industry, not only us, everybody in our industry, especially Dubai, I think we are giving back a great value to customer. So I think we say to customer, even you're buying from us or anybody else, Dubai is a very good place to buy. Enjoy your purchase, shop here, and I think that seems to work well, and I think that's the truth also, especially in this part of the world.
Karim?
I think it's a very tough question that you've asked, and I think in 2 minutes, if a retailer has to sell his diamonds to the consumer, I would want the consumer to know that what he or she is buying when it comes to diamond jewelry is irreplaceable. It cannot be replaced with another product. In their minds, when they buy the diamonds from us, we should successfully, in the 2 minutes, be able to communicate it is not a substitute for your iPhone. It is not a substitute for anything which is synthetic in the world, for sure. It is not a substitute for your handbag. It is a product in itself which is irreplaceable, and it's forever. If these two thoughts, according to my understanding, goes directly into the minds of the consumers, we have created a particular niche which is non-competitive. Even if a handbag is for $100,000, if the supplier wants, they can create 1,000 of it, 10,000 of it, and 1,000,000 of it. But in diamond, it's irreplaceable. If there are no longer diamonds available, it's not available. It cannot be made. And I think that's the spot.
So I have a follow-up story to tell you. And I asked that question for a reason. I want to go back.
You have another question, Dilip?
Yeah, no, just
Because
follow
the
up.
gentleman-
1 second. Just a follow-up is, none of you said that, these diamonds are conflict-free. None of you said, that you will talk to that. So I think, industry is putting an overweight on, this particular aspect. I think we need to really have a balance in our messages. Retailers know it well. It is, it's your game and you know it very well. That's it.
Thank you, Dilip. I come to the panel tomorrow morning at 10 because we're going to address that issue by and large. Andre.
Dilip practically asked the question I wanted to, but no, that's okay. I just want to focus on one issue. Based on your experience, what is the first motivation of the young consumer, he or she or the couple, when they come to the shop? What they are looking for, asking about diamonds? what they want to buy in reality. And maybe the next question to Roberto, if compare with the generation who bought diamonds 20, 30 years ago.
So
Well, as
basically,
far as I'm concerned, I described a beautiful piece of jewelry, and which I hope that will be given to future generations. So a true piece of art, and coincidentally, there is some diamonds. You know what I mean? So we describe more the creativity which we have made of this piece of jewelry, because after all, you must remember, gentlemen, that we forget in the manufacturing of the creativity, because every piece, every diamonds of yours must be put into some piece of jewelry. And you can be retailers, you can be diamond dealers, but somehow or another we are forgetting the most important people, you know, which puts into jewelry. So it's creativity. And creativity are essential. So I can be selling anything, but it's based on my creativity, you know, which for us is based on the quality of the product. It's based the way it was set, the best material. And coincidentally, there is diamonds. You know, but I am not a diamond retailer. But this is how I expect even diamonds to be sold. You know, it is the best diamonds. It is the best quality. It is the best design. It is the best of the best. And we have a great advantage because compared to the big brands, we would like to dress everybody differently. So that's why we create 600 new models every year, and we would like to dress everybody differently, while all the big brands would like to dress everybody equally. So the retailers, the small retailers of the world, has a great advantage if they are doing innovation, as it was said before, and innovating means being different than the others, where they can give a better choice of product than the big brands. And if you go to these huge brands, and you see the same product in January and in December.
okay, thank you, Roberto. If I may, Andre, rephrase the question a little bit to Karim and Amit. How much is the purchase of individual diamonds in your stores event-related? I mean, wedding-related, engagement-related, anniversary-related, Christmas-related, or just occasional shopping? Do you have figures on that?
I think I can answer, Andre, in terms of the young customers, what you mentioned. I think our experience with first-time customers of our industry, that is an entry point, is need-based. So that need base is certainly an engagement or a gift. And that is very, very clear. Anybody who entered in our store, we have sold the first diamond to a person, a lady or a man, is a need base. And that need base has been generated by years of campaigning and marketing and the promotion, whatever has been in past. And I'm very, very clear about it. We have a very interesting demographic profiling of our customers, why they are buying what they're buying. If you do elaborate in terms of different age groups, I think that goes to 50%. So still diamond jewelry is, and again comes back to my question is, I'm in desire business, what is their need? So is there need a wedding? Is there need an anniversary? Is there need a coming home? You know, any kind of thing. So I think 50% of our business is certainly need-based. And this is where, which is keeps us going. In events of the macro and microeconomic conditions, what we see today, the rest 50% which evaporates very quickly, which is desire-based and which is impulse. Because if the economies are not good, people are not feeling fantastic, if they're not very sure what's happening, the balance 50% just frizzles up, and this is where markets just tank. I think that need base is still which has been created over the years. And just to touch on that point, Peter, not just to make statements and come on this panel and not give something valuable. I met Peter Demantes for Future Institution. So Peter is a person based of West Coast. And he does interact with the global top fortune companies or anybody who comes with a problem. They do not big spend, I think $1 or $2 million award in which an industry or a company goes to them and say, we are suffering from this issue. And actually, they have been able to solve a lot of big global problems like water, electricity, and so on and so forth by this mechanism of awards. So I certainly will urge, we have a great team of people here who are from all the verticals of industry. I know Peter very well. I will be happy to make an introduction. I think it'll be interesting. So I think The point I'm trying to bring back is everything we are talking is very microeconomic, and I don't look business that way. We actually have to address the question from here, like what Andre mentioned. This is what my thought in the totality of business. If we are not able to handle that question, why diamonds should exist, why diamond should be a category, how as an industry or a company we are able to handle that, I think microeconomically, before 15 years or 20 years, we were a $100 billion industry, we will still be 100, 140, 150, content will go up and down. I think we will not really make big exponential progress. So I think this is a bigger question to answer, and I think past history have shown that needs which were created during whatever campaigns, which are still serving today as sales in our stores, those needs should be the seeds of the future purchases, and that have to be done.
Karim, what's your perception on needs versus spontaneous, and the younger generation? How do they fit in? Do they behave differently, or is it?
I think for younger generation, what is very important now is that acceptance. So when they buy any product, they need to feel accepted by their peers. And that is not there in the diamond industry. So if a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old bought a pendant for herself and she wore it to school or to college, I don't think she will get complimented by her peers. And we are lacking on that. But if she was the first person to buy the iPhone, people will ask her, can I see it? Can I play with it? Can I do something about it? That's a void that we need to fill, the acceptance around that. And to answer your question related to occasion-related buying, I truly believe in the power of marketing. If we talk about the example of Hallmark cards, for them it's the most toughest to sell when there is not an occasion. So if there is no one's birthday or anniversary or a Valentine's Day, what are they going to do? Shut shop? But they have done a fantastic job in creating days. Teacher's Day, Father's Day, Saturday, another day, sunny day, and they sell cards related to that. And thank you.
Thank you. That's a very
And I think as an industry, we have the opportunity to do that and to sell products creating occasions. Because at the end of the day, the feel-good factor comes in when you create an occasion. 15 years ago, I never gifted my father a Father's Day card. But when I do it now, he likes it. It just feels good. And that bloody card cost 30, 35 dirhams, which is not even produced for 3 dirhams.
It's actually very funny because 17 minutes ago, I received an SMS from a company called Pure Gold saying, this auspicious day, let prosperity surround you.
Yes. So it is important that we use these kind of opportunities and revolve our sales around it.
Good. Gentlemen, we've done about an hour. We have a long night ahead. I want to give the opportunity to...
Rajiv.
Is that your brother?
That is
Rajiv,
Rajiv.
yeah.
Well, Rajiv, please.
Thank you.
And then Jakob.
We've
And then we're
heard-
going to close after 10 minutes.
So we've heard about Apple probably 6 times. That's the number of times I heard Apple. And just for the sake of the audience, Apple is probably the first company to make its way into the $1 trillion mark. That's by value. My question is surrounding value. I've met large PE firms, private equity firms recently, and their take on the industry was, and my question was, why are you not investing into retail jewelry companies? And their answer was very simple. They said, Rajiv, when we invest in companies, we're looking at sustainable cash flows. When we invest in jewelry companies, we see negative cash flows. What does that mean? When you grow the business, you need to pour in cash. When Apple grows the business, they throw out cash. That's how you create value. The issue is, if value is what we all want to create, not only in our product, but also in our companies, how do we go about doing that? And we've got 3 important retailers, family businesses on stage. Is value what we are trying to create, or is margin what we are trying to go after?
That's a very tough one. Who would like to reply?
I can take a hit on it
Okay.
after you.
No, go ahead.
Karim.
I think it's a very, to respond to this question, we have to look at it in a very holistic way. Because you mentioned about margins, you mentioned about value, and you mentioned about cash flow. Every industry, so we cannot compare ourselves to Apple, and we should not. And I personally feel that whatever comparisons that we are making with another company, it's incorrect because we have intrinsic value in the product that we're selling. We're just not being able to bring it out correctly. That's a different problem. But we are not a competitive category with them. So as far as our business is concerned, there is a lot of value as far as retail is concerned. If the retail is managed efficiently, there are positive cash flows across the board. Of course, when you grow the business, there are those times of up and down. But overall, if you see the cash flow over a period of 5 years, it would be very difficult for me to believe that if the business is being run ethically, efficiently, the business is not doing well. So, and I say this with 14 years of retailing that we have seen, and even if I see, okay, if you're putting in the money, you're using it somewhere else, that's a totally different subject. But if you're just focusing on your own business, growing it well, the margins are healthy, managing the inventory properly, because management of the inventory in our industry is a big issue, not being handled correctly, even if the value is higher than other competitive industries, but if managed correctly, the cash flows are positive.
I think
Amit?
I think I'd like to agree what Kareem said. I think interesting thing about our industry, Rajiv, and just why the Apple analogy is to look for us as industry as a whole. It's not about creating a category, to understand that this is a desire-based product which somebody else is trying to make and create. We as an industry are giving a greater intrinsic value of what we are selling. So consumer, whenever he's buying a $100 ring from anybody, $60, $70, $80 worth of diamonds are in the ring, depending on different market. US is less, UAE is more. How we as industry, like interesting example, when a diamond price goes down, customer doesn't come to my store and say, give me 2 rings. When diamond price goes up, it's not the same question. They have a $10,000 to spend. How much experience, product, and the need, if it's an engagement ring and the product, how much we can serve as a retailer, this is where I think the fine balance lies. And we strongly feel, with our experience of retail in the last 10 years, every customer which we have touched, we have been able to strike a balance, giving them a great value and keeping some value for us, growing the business, growing the margin. But like Kareem said, we are 100% focused in our business. We evolve every day. We have understanding of everybody who walks in the store, why they're walking in, why they're not buying, and then we are trying to change ourselves. I think more and more our industry as a whole, if we look at that, we all are giving a very fantastic product to consumers, but we have to again go back to how we created those extra need for them to buy. We think we have a fantastic way go forward, but me as a person in a company, as an industry whole, we don't see that thing is happening, and certainly there is no custodian or one custodian. I think we all should think together and understand how we keep ourselves up in that game to make sure the diamond industry globally becomes $200 billion or $250 billion, how we can have our portion in the chunk which is already rising and which Dilip Bhai presented in terms of those figures, how we can increase our chunk. And I think this is where it's a very interesting mix to or balance to strike.
Thank you, Amit. You want to add something?
Yeah, actually, it's something I've been thinking of, which is, stemming from the value creation side. Typically when investors are looking at corporates from a value creation point of view, you obviously look at sustainable history from a past, but you also look at projected, futures. And those projections are essentially from a growth, both in terms of revenue, distribution, but more importantly in terms of net earnings as well. Have you all been able to experience or demonstrate a growth in net earnings from a retail standpoint over the last 10 years? And if so, then has there been an increase in research or investment into marketing in terms of the consumer experience? Because if that were the case, and if that represents a good portion of our industry, we probably wouldn't have as much of a challenge as we have today. So is there a challenge with increasing net earnings itself? Because that is a very fundamental requirement to value creation.
I mean, as far as we are concerned, I can tell you on behalf of most of the diamond retailers in this part of the world that over the past 10 years on a compounded growth rate, if you see it, everybody's grown, whether it's the top line or whether it's the bottom line. And the physical evidence lies. You see the number of stores which were there 10 years ago and now. And at the end of the day, if the business doesn't make sense, you wouldn't see the growth. I think we're a little, confused in terms of the territory that I don't think retailers are doing poorly. It's just that my worry is that we are not doing enough for the next 10 years. So we have a problem now, which is related to short term or medium term, but this is always going to remain. But overall, if you see the retail in the last 10 years, because retailers anyway should be in the business with a long-term perspective. It is not a 1 year's perspective or 2 years perspective. And if you see the business as a 10 years perspective, I think it's a pretty good investment vehicle.
So, you know, a number of years ago, I remember there used to be a famous De Beers marketing research done, which was about the PWP content within retail. And there were a number of markets that were surveyed. And I remember in those days, one of the least efficient markets, correct me if I'm wrong, was Japan. Somewhere in the region of 18% of the retail value was the content of polished at wholesale prices. This was in the early 2000s. And the highest in the world used to be, I think if I'm not wrong, India or Turkey, where it was as high as about 30% or more. So since then, obviously, there was an entire drive by the industry towards disintermediation and creating a lot more efficiency between the upstream side and the downstream side. What has happened as a result of that? Has the consumer gotten a better, bargain at the end of the day? Have retailers suddenly made a lot more money? I can certainly speak on behalf of the diamond manufacturers that perhaps hasn't happened, certainly not in a sustainable manner. Or is it the upstream side? And I think this is something which is a major issue because at the end of the day, if this efficiency is simply being lopsided to one side or the other, the accountability for generating incremental demand and investing in all of the good things we've been talking about won't be adopted by everyone across the pipeline.
I think the message is clear.
Well,
Understood.
Peter, there is also a big point, let's say, except Dubai or China or India, let's say that the retail business have a huge difficulty in turning their stock once a year. They used to turn it twice, they used to turn it 3 times. Now there is retailers which are unable to even to turn it once. And let's say also that, especially in the United States or other countries, which needs to be financed, the retail industry. So obviously, the retail industry is underfinanced by the retailers themselves. So all they invested their money elsewhere, not on the jewelry. So there is a big issue there. And to be able to make a bigger profit, it is the bigger profit you obtain it by branding yourself, which there is no any other way that you can create margin. And to brand yourself, I'm sure you all know the concept. You got to have a concept, you have to have an identity, you have to have a brand awareness, you have to have a brand position, you have to have brand loyalty, you have to brand equity, you have to have brand value, you have to have the product, you have to have pricing, you have to have the place of distribution, you have to have celebrities, have positioning. So, and that is the way you brand yourself.
Can I add
a
very deep
so
pocket
you
as
know
well.
what branding is all about.
Good.
Branding,
Thank you.
what Armani said a long time ago, branding is an imposition of my taste upon the others. And I can't help it if they haven't got good taste.
Good. I take one last question and then we close this session.
Can I take the paper?
I give you
I think it's very much a concluding question. My name is Jacob van Moor. Peter, you made yourself part of the panel, so you started talking about generic diamond marketing. Vishal, you started, the first word you said was investment in marketing. Karim said that he thinks that we shouldn't wait for others and the industry has been waiting too long. Amit talked about the fact that we need to create the consumer experience, mentioning the Apple Watch. And if I'm not wrong, Roberto Coin said that his company is investing as much in advertising as De Beers used to do in generic advertising in his high days. So you all agree, hopefully, or do you all agree that there needs to be an all-industry effort on marketing, promotion, generic marketing and promotion of diamonds? And can brands coexist with those efforts and support them?
Yeah.
You don't have to answer. Vishal can start.
Sorry, if I can just paraphrase. Are you asking whether generic marketing and specific branded marketing can coexist?
And will you guys support it?
Well, to answer your first question, from our perspective, it certainly can coexist. And the reason for that is because we're in a relatively unique position. There aren't too many industries out there where just, a low double-digit percentage of the entire industry is unbranded generic. So if that has to change, it's not going to happen overnight. So there will be an effort potentially required in generic marketing, but that will certainly need to be complemented with specific brands and branded marketing as well.
I think that
we close in a few minutes because there is the dinner tonight.
So very quickly, I think yes, it should. So there should be generic marketing and there should be specific brand marketing, and I think they will only complement each other, and it will only build the foundation even stronger. But they should be clearly distinguished between the two. The generic marketing's responsibility should be to get the customer excited about diamonds, and the brands should work on getting them into the store. So they're two different tasks, and I think it should definitely happen.
Amit?
I think I go back little more closer than generic marketing, maybe as a diamond, as a category marketing. So imagine even 10, 20, $15 million, whatever fund you call it, globally there's one campaign about just diamond. It's not about ring or earring or pendant. Diamond is a category, a beautiful picture of diamond giving that emotion is across the world in all kind of medias with a certain campaign. And diamond as an industry is promoted. I think that will be a very interesting thing to rejuvenate customers' understanding on diamond. And this is what, for me, is the new world of generic marketing. And I think when we do this kind of a thing, even Cartier will be happy, even chain stores will be happy, even independents will be happy, I'm sure miners will be happy, manufacturers will be happy. Can be an interesting thing and an amazing diamond picture, one standard picture globally with a similar beautiful message talking about amazing beauty of diamonds. And I'm sure that can be an interesting way to go forward.
Before Roberto closes, when I entered the trade 25 years ago, as a broker actually for the bears, I remember that every time we had meetings with the bears, the first thing they did was, we're going to show you our new video on engagement rings or on anything. And that they, of course, spread all over the world. And probably that is missing. Roberto?
Well, I could finish two different ways. One, I can say, obviously, I love the industry very much because I'm a lover of life, and I know that a lady or my wife or anybody love to receive a flower. She likes to receive a beautiful letter, and she does love to receive a piece of jewelry. So that is press sentiment which are essential in today's life and always have been. But I would like to finish. We think we are good, but the answer is we are not good enough. All of us, let's move in and do some good work.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I think the first panel proves that this way of doing conferences is much better than just listening to speeches. We have 4 more panels tomorrow. We start tomorrow at 10 with a panel on ethics. I told you this morning, Global Witness campaigner Alex Yearsley is on that panel. He has some quite interesting things to say. Afterwards, there is a panel on synthetics. Then there is a panel with all the members of the African producing countries, and we close at 4 with a panel on finance, which is open for everyone, for the public. So thank you all for your participation. You were a great public. We want to see you tomorrow morning at 10, and see you all tonight for the dinner. Thanks to the members of the panel.
Thank you, Peter. And one notice regarding tonight, the gala dinner, wonderful setting. If you've not received your invitation to the gala dinner tonight, do check with the reception here at the conference. See you later.